Thank you, Mr. Peters. We'll move on to A3, call to order. And A4, Mrs. Gray, could you do roll call?
Mr. Allen?
Here.
Mr. McClellan?
Here.
Mr. Melcher?
Here.
Mr. Wall?
Here.
Mrs. Hine?
Here.
Mr. Carl?
Here.
Mrs. Miller?
Here.
Thank you, Mrs. Gray. A5, revisions to the agenda. Mr. Trout, we have some revisions today.
Yes, we do. First of all, I'd like to add to consent agenda F4, personnel, certified staff, appointment of assignments, Addie Hacker, sixth grade teacher, science at Riverview. That's for effective 8/4/25. We have a resignation of Carrie Neal, special education teacher dash behavioral skills at Lincoln, effective 7/10/25. Classified staff, transfer of assignment. Carrie Rumpel, part-time information and data specialist at the ASC, effective 7/21/25. Nick Scheiber, information and data specialist at ASC, effective 7/15/25. We have some classification changes. These are these are some of our nurses, and so understand that the salary hasn't changed. We're just spreading out over 26 pays, so that they would match like groups in our district. That would involve Alicia Kindler, Sherry Truax, Christine Johnson, Angela Fuller. ECA assignments. We have Addie Hacker, sixth grade volleyball coach at Riverview. We have Adrian Halverstadt, seventh grade assistant football coach, Riverview, and Taylor Herendine. We have for department chair at the Huntington North High School guidance, and then also Trent McCarver, seventh grade head football coach, Riverview. Substitute assignments, resignations is Cynthia Kiefer, substitute secretary district on 7/13/25. And then number 2, add 25 for the 2025-26 Kinder Camp employment recommendation for Jordan Bitzler to the consent agenda as item F10, and renumber the remaining consent agenda items. So those are for you. I'm seeking your approval for those revisions.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. I'll entertain a motion regarding the revisions.
Motion to approve the revision of the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Melcher, and could I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Any questions or comments before we vote? Hearing none, we'll vote on the revisions.
Yeah. And so you got to take Deb's vote. Okay.
Yes, we might as well do that, please. Everyone for the roll call.
Mr. McClellan?
Yes.
Mr. Melcher?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Mrs. Hine?
Yes.
Mr. Carl?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to items from visitors' public comment. No one signed up tonight to speak. If anyone would like to step forward, we will have a 3-minute time limit, and we will like to be something to do with the agenda. No one coming forward, move on. Item C, number 1, construction projects update. Mr. Thornsberry.
Before Terry starts, I'd like, as Cindy's pulling that up, one of the projects that is not under Veridian, if you remember, we started the parking lots at the 4 buildings that were not a part of the Veridian contract. Those are with MKM. Just give you a brief update on those. As you drove into Crestview, it should have been a smoother ride today. There's obviously no lines on the parking lot yet, but those are coming, and I believe that all of the buildings have been done at least with the asphalt, and the painting crew should be coming back to get those all wrapped up before school starts. So just want to give you that update, as it won't be part of Terry's presentation. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Mr. Thornsberry.
Okay.
Appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening, and we're going to go through renovation projects update as of last week. So Cindy, if you just go to the next slide. So I'm doubting too many of you have been in the high school. It's hard to get pictures of what it really looks like. I was just there a few minutes ago, but it's kind of a mess. So it's good that everybody's staying out. It's been a little warm in there because the AC's been turned off. The water is back on, so that's a good thing. But it's not a great place to be right now. Hopefully in the next few days the AC will be turned back on and the cooling will be turned back on, so we start to dehumidify the building and get the temperatures back where they need to be. And then slowly over the next couple weeks get the building put back together before students arrive. So next slide. So we'll start with the big mechanical project. This is the second summer of that project. This is an image of the north penthouse, and all of the mechanical equipment was moved in just after school got out. It got moved in quickly. The new roof is being installed as well. The siding, so that siding that you see on there, the tan siding, will go away, and it'll be white siding like the penthouse that's on the south side of the building that you can see as you drive into the entry drive. As I said, the air conditioning should be turned on this week, and Chuck and I are staying on top of the contractor just to make sure that things are getting done and moving forward. And I just was there and texted him a few things, and the contractor did reply to me this evening. So, so I know they're out there. So, next slide, Cindy. Again, this is the same penthouse, just an image of the inside. It's hard to tell what's going on here, but it is a jigsaw puzzle up there. There's a lot. The mechanical units that are there now are actually bigger than the old ones, and so there's a lot of ductwork, maneuvering, piping, maneuvering. And so far, the piping's all done, but the reason that we can't turn the air conditioner back on yet is because we're going to start running chilled water through that pipe, and if it's not insulated, it'll condensate everywhere and make a mess. So we have new ceilings and lights going in. We don't want that happening over top of the new lights and ceilings, so it's all a game of which contractor's in there getting their part done, and the insulators are making good progress, so that's why we hope to see the AC turned on later this week. So a majority of the work will be done by the end of this month into August, and it'll continue into the winter time, and then it's going to be dialing in the new digital controls for the building so that it operates the way that we need it to. So, next slide. Restroom renovation project. So this is all of the 4 main restrooms or 8 main restrooms, student restrooms in the corners, and then also some staff and administrative restrooms. So nearly all the work is complete in restroom door 1 and the auditorium. We punched one of those this morning, so by that I mean we went and looked at it and make sure that everything looks like the way it should, and we're going to be sending out the punch list to the contractor tomorrow to get the door 1 restrooms done enough so that students can start using it, and we're working on the 2 adjacent to the cafeteria as well, and I was just there, and the epoxy floor was done because there was danger tape and stay out tape up, so I couldn't go in there and look at it, but the fixtures are installed. They're working on the partitions and everything. So again, those 2 restrooms will be done as well. They will not have the new single-use restroom work done that's being added onto the building. That will not be done by the time school starts, but at least the majority of the rest of the restrooms will be completed. So it's all new paint, new ceilings, new light fixtures, so definitely going to look better, and it's going to make a big difference as far as students. And so you can actually see in the one picture on the right that we now have partitions between the urinals in the boys or men's restrooms, so that hopefully they'll get used instead of the way that they used to be. So next slide. So again, this is a restroom renovation on the outside in the hallway on the picture on the right. So we're now going to have 2 drinking fountains or water coolers and bottle fillers there. They will be ADA accessible. We got rid of the 2 in the middle. There used to be 4 there, so there's no purpose to have those. And you can see on the picture on the left, that is what we have to do to get to the plumbing in between the restrooms in the wall. So it's all new plumbing. It ties back into the floor. So everything's going to be new there. There are access panels so that Rich and his team can get to all of these things. And this will, again, progress into the fall and should be completed by November. Next ceilings, lights, PA, and piping replacement. So this is the biggest thing you notice if you go in the building, because there's a lot of ceiling that's missing now. The contractors went ahead and demoed as much as they could this summer so that then they could just start working on putting it back together even after school starts. There is lighting, so it's safe to walk through the hallways. It's just not everything's back in place yet. What I did mention about the piping, so it's chilled water piping that you can see there on the right, the big pipes, and then there's also new domestic piping as well. So about 1.5 million of this project was just piping replacement. So that when it's all done and the ceilings are in, hopefully we don't have leaks ruining the new ceiling. So, and this was something that Rich and his team really wanted to happen. But it's only a small portion of the building, so there's still a lot to do. But this was some of the worst areas that we focused on first. Next slide. Again, the ceilings and lights. So this is the new ceiling on the left there at the auditorium and at the field house. So those light fixtures are the same ones we use in the cafeteria. So we're playing off of some of that same look. And then the hallway picture there is just to show you there at the library what that hallway looks like. The grid's back in, but the ceiling tile's not in yet. So again, hopefully things will keep moving forward. The contractor's really not running into any issues to speak of. So it's going pretty smoothly, and it's surprising how fast they can get some of the work done. So, next slide. Floor restoration, this one is throughout the entire building, so all of the terrazzo. So the picture on the left is terrazzo that's being refinished. So they actually go in and polish it and grind it, and it dulls it up, and then they put a 3M system on there, and then that seals it and makes it shiny. The picture on the right is actually the band hallway that used to have a bunch of stuff painted on the floor, but that's now polished concrete. So it's the original concrete floor brought back to life, and it looks amazing. So again, none of those floors, the terrazzo or the concrete, will ever need to be waxed. So that's going to save a lot in maintenance.
I think that picture on the right's amazing because it's a great example of the LED lighting with the redone floor and reflection off the floor. It has really changed that entire environment. And so that's what all the hallways will be like shortly. So Terry, you and your crew have done just a phenomenal job with all this.
I've walked that floor several times, and I don't ever remember it being that color.
It was not.
It was never that color.
It had about 30 layers of wax on it, I think. So yeah. Also, all of the building is getting new rubber base because the old base that was the rubber base again had lots of coats of wax and was beat up, and then the demountable wall system actually had a plastic base that clips onto it, and we're tearing all that off and replacing it with rubber base. So that should look a lot better, should look a lot cleaner, and definitely a lot brighter with the new LED. So right now the contractor's in there working during the day, and once school starts back up, they'll shift back to second shift so that they're working at night. So next slide. So this is two things I'm going to cover with this. So haven't been able to get into the arena because the hardwood floor is being refinished. But the stair landings have been polished, but the logos aren't done yet. So that's something that should be done in the next couple weeks before school starts. The field house hallway is something I want to focus on. Now, this rendering has not been updated, so that north-south hallway in the field house, the logos and the text will be rotated 180 degrees. So contractor knows that. We just, I did not update this rendering, but we're going to get that to them. They have not started that work because that's what I want to talk about in the next slide. So when they tore out the ceramic tile floor back there that was not in great shape, it had a lot of cracks and chunks missing and fractures, and we kind of figured out why. So what we found back there was 2.5 inches of grout on top of the concrete floor. So that's not normal. And we can only assume that the original concrete floor, 4-inch reinforced concrete floor, was poured at the wrong elevation. So they filled the gap with 2.5 inches of grout. So that was not a great thing to find.
So this is the hallways. Coming in would be what's door number? 28.
20.
Yeah.
So that picture on the right, you can't tell, but that's a 2.5-inch deep hole that goes down to the original concrete. And so what we did is we tested the compressive strength of that grout. And it's borderline strong enough for the new concrete overlay that we were going to do. So Dancer Concrete, which is a contractor that's doing this part with ACB, came up with their own system. So we're actually going to do an overlay on top of the grout that will give some flex, but also can withstand 9,000 pounds of compressive. If you drop something on it, it can withstand 9,000 pounds of impact. And on top of that, then will be a concrete layer on top of that. And that's what gets polished, and that'll look like new, very similar to that band hallway, but that's old concrete. So we found a solution, and we kept it within budget, barely. Luckily, that's moving forward. That hallway back there, those two hallways were supposed to be done before school starts, and that's not going to happen. But what they're going to try to do is at least get the two overlay systems done so that there's a concrete floor to walk on back there. But the logos and the graphics and all that will take place at night, and they'll work their way through that and possibly block off parts of the hallway so that it can still be usable, but we just have to work around that hiccup that we ran into. So again, this project is scheduled to be completed, fine, Cindy, in November. Most everything is scheduled to be done in November. Then switching to Salamone. So Salamone is going well. We did have a hiccup on delivery of equipment, which we thought we were past all that because that was a big deal coming out of COVID and all of that. But unfortunately, the cooling equipment that goes in the penthouse did not show up in time to get done this summer. So that's going to get pushed into next summer. But they did go ahead and get the new rooftop units for the gymnasium installed, and those are getting piped for new gas. And so now the gymnasium will have air conditioning, cooling, because it never has. So that'll be nice. But what they are focusing on is the boiler room. So the new boilers are installed on that picture on the bottom, and they're working on the piping and everything else there. So they're doing as much as they can, and then next summer they'll come back and work on the cooling side. And they're also getting everything done inside the building this summer so that they're out of the way. It's not nearly as big and as complicated as the high school, but it is getting done, and so far everything's good, and it'll be completed, as I say, there in summer of '26. And then Flint Springs and Lincoln roof replacements, both of those buildings are virtually identical, and both of them are going well as far as roofing. Nate, the guy from our office, was there again last week, and I haven't touched base with him, but we weren't seeing any issues, just needing to get things done, keep the buildings weather tight. The siding will get done in a little while. It's not getting done this summer. It'll probably get pushed into the school year a little bit, but it won't be a big deal. It's all outside exterior work, and there'll be new signage. So the signs will come off the building. We'll have new signage that'll contrast against that metal siding so that you'll be able to read that a little better from the road, except for Lincoln until you drive all the way down the lane. But so again, this is all scheduled to be completed this summer, early fall. So I think that's it. Yep. So questions, comments?
So we're now dealing with a issue that has caused us issues in that door 28 hallway in the field house because someone messed up and they probably, I would say, didn't fix it correctly. They just poured extra grout.
Yeah, we looked at so we came up with 3 options. One option was to tear that 2.5 inches out completely, demo it, and then pour more concrete on top of the concrete. And that was over $100,000. And we just didn't have the budget for that. The other option was to do what I said and tear that out. And that was, that still leaves us about $8,000 or so in contingency. Not anticipating we're going to run into anything else, but that leaves some money there to deal with that. It was a little over $40,000 for this fix. So luckily we had the money there and haven't spent it elsewhere. As far as why, I've never, ever seen somebody do that. And I don't know why they did. It was a cheap fix, and now we're paying for it a little bit.
Right, but what if not tearing it out then leads to issues down the line and we end up spending more in the future?
So we went around and around about this for a couple of weeks, and Dancer Concrete, I trust, and I looked through everything that they were going to do, and the compressive strength of the the grout is almost 3,000 pounds by itself. It's almost like weak concrete. It's really rough, and so that added layer that they're going to put down will fill in all those voids and cracks and self-level, and they also said it'll help bond all of that stuff together and distribute the load. Now, we did talk to Beth, and we'll tell Rich the same thing. In the future, we do not recommend that they move all the heavyweight equipment out into the hallway and just stack it on the floor and do everything else without putting probably plywood or something down.
To help even it more?
And also protect the floor.
Okay.
So you don't beat it up. So she said no problem, and she said they have other ways to deal with that anyway. So, and the only other thing was they sometimes you guys have a pretty big lift that'll get to the arena ceiling, and that's really heavy, and she said we just won't drive it through there anymore.
Which is great as long as she's there.
Well, we've talked about that with everything to make sure that that information is conveyed. And some of the best ways to do it is actually putting signage or things on the equipment itself and tell people, what to do.
Will some of this findings then go into the assessment that you did for us? Because that was an unknown, but if we have to ever go back to that floor,
Yeah.
I don't want to find that again. I don't want the next board or
Right.
2 or 3 boards down the line to
Right.
come back and say, well, why didn't they do that? Are we going to document that somewhere so we can have that?
It will. So every project that we do, we end up producing, and the contractor helps us produce as-built drawings. So everything that gets changed during construction or relocated or not put where we put it, or in this case, that floor issue, gets documented. And you guys get all of that stuff. So it will be.
Just assume that got missed on the as-built for that floor originally?
We looked, and it's not on the original drawings. There's no record of it whatsoever. It's bizarre for that to happen, but there's a chance they poured that hallway before they built the field house, because the field house elevation seems to be perfectly fine. Because I don't think they would have been able to put that rubber floor system on anything but concrete. So it's hard to say. I've seen it happen, but in those cases we've had one project where somebody poured it off by like 7 inches, and they had to tear it out and redo it all again. But it wasn't nearly as big as those hallways.
I thank you for your professionalism, at least from now on, so.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good question. Anything else?
Board, just one comment. You said the last 2 summers they've not had air at Huntington North. Well, when you see Beth Clark and her team, she could use a huge thank you. She works tirelessly there. She sits in every meeting Terry and I are in. She gives valuable input with her expertise, and she's a worker. And so she is an absolute blessing to this district. And when you see her, she won't call attention to it, but Terry and I and Pat see it regularly every week, every day, and I've seen this for 3 years. So I just want to commend her and her team for unbelievable work, and the conditions are a little challenging there during the summer. So I thank Beth greatly.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. We just sat through an hour meeting or 2 hour meeting, and I'm soaking wet. I can't imagine how she deals with being in there all day. So it's rough.
Anything further for Terry? Thank you, Mr. Thornsberry, very much. Fantastic work. We're excited about the progress.
Okay, I appreciate it. Whoever put me at the top of the agenda, thank you. So,
We'll save you for last next time.
right.
All right, we're going to move on to item D1, Director of Human Resources.
This evening, Board, I am recommending for your approval Candace Priest for our new HR Director for our district. She will be replacing Rihanna Jennings, who is in your personnel report under consent agenda, who is leaving us, has resigned her position a week from Wednesday. Candace, for our public, is currently our HR Director, has done a tremendous job in that role. Payroll, what did I say?
HR.
Well, yes, okay, payroll, thank you, has done a great job in that area, and we're excited about her joining the team, so I'm recommending her for your approval.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. I'll entertain a motion, reference this item.
Motion to approve the Director of Human Resources is presented.
Thank you, Mr. Melcher. And a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. McClellan. Any questions or discussion before we vote? Hearing none, let's vote on the motion.
I believe. Are we good, Deb?
I think she's good.
Okay, we're good, yes.
Thank you, Cindy. Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations, Candace. Moving on to D2, HCCS Classified Employee Handbook Updates. Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. In your board packet, you will see, one, the proposed handbook changes for the classified staff, as well as a summary sheet of those changes that we made to the document that makes it a little bit easier to get through. And before I start, we look at these documents annually based on new legislation and things that come out from the state or from the federal government to make sure that we're in compliance with all of our employee groups, in particular the classified employee handbook that we're looking at as well. So just to give you an idea, there are many things in here that we have to have in here by law or by statute as it relates to human resources within our classified staff and so forth. And then there are some things that are specific to our district, okay, that we put in our classified handbooks to attract and retain quality employees. So just calling your attention to a couple of the things on the summary sheet that fall into those two categories. For example, if you look at, the fourth one down, where it says page 3, classified or clarified parapro test requirements. That is a state requirement for our paraprofessionals that they have to, when they're hired, take and pass a parapro exam if they don't meet certain criteria. And so that certain criteria has been updated by the state, and so therefore we had to update those requirements in our handbook to be in compliance with the state of Indiana. And then contrast that with some things that we as a district put in there to retain and attract employees. And that is, if you look at page 10, there where it talks about change the holidays for 9 and 10-month employees. It has been Memorial Day, but the handbook also says that you have to work the day before the holiday and the day after the holiday to receive holiday pay. Well, if you are aware of our contracts and our calendars, very rarely in the last several years have we worked past Memorial Day. So those employees that are 9 and 10 month have not been afforded that holiday benefit. So we wanted to give them something to reward them for their service to the district. And so we're looking at moving that from Memorial Day to the day after Thanksgiving as a paid day for them. So just kind of show you the two contrasts from what the state requires us to do and then what we do to help with retention and attraction of employees. So I'm happy to answer any other questions. This is the first reading, so we'll bring it back to the August 11th board meeting for final approval. But if you have any questions about the handbook and the proposed changes, I will certainly entertain those now.
Any questions for Pat reference this first reading? You get number D3 as well. HCCS
Oh, yes.
Transportation Handbook.
Thank you. The Transportation Handbook, very similar situation. There is minor revisions to this, and that's why you don't have a summary sheet. There is a revision to the law for bus drivers in regards to how long we hang on to and how we hang on to materials relating to their physicals and drug screens and all those things that they have to have by the state. So that law has been added. And then the other main revision of that is drivers that drive special needs routes receive an additional amount for driving the special needs routes. So we've included that for a substitute driver because usually that substitute driver may be one of our regular route drivers that is pulled off their regular route to drive special needs, and then we would use a sub for that regular route. So that pay rate for the for the special education route would stay with the sub driver. And then also the pay rate for substitute bus aides has been updated as well. So those are the two main changes in the transportation handbook, and I'll entertain any questions on that.
Any questions for Ms. McLaughlin? Hearing none, we'll move on. Thank you, Ms. McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Move on to item E, students, E1, Edmentum platform online update.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. This is just a informational item for the board, and of a couple of previous discussions we've had. This was adopted at a previous meeting, and I'm just trying to make sure that it's in front of you and our public. You'll hear from me on this a few times throughout the year as well. But on our Edmentum platform, as a reminder, that will be live virtual education or recorded for our full-time virtual students. We had 91, if you can see on that, I think it might be the next slide or the third one, Cindy, but 91 students on our previous platform in 6 through 12. And as a reminder, Apex is a part of Edmentum, but it is the version that we're also adding to this for full-time virtual is with live instruction of teachers, which we did not previously have. Live tutor sessions, the whole deal. So if we did retain the 91 or we added to that, they would receive what looks like an education you would expect. And I know Mrs. Heim and several of the board members are aware, but these are either live teachers with opportunities to discuss, classroom hours, tutor hours, the whole deal. And so I say that because we'll be running two platforms for Huntington North and our middle school. The Apex platform, which is the online courses that you're used to seeing, will be as a special education piece as needed due to an ACR conference. They will be retained on Apex. We will use that platform for our Success Academy kids that you saw the presentation last year from that team. We'll also retain that option for our alternative kids in our middle school as needed. Sometimes alternative school kids are there for 3 weeks. They would stay on our canvas with our teachers in their school. That's easy. If they're going to be there 9 to 18 weeks in our middle school, we will utilize Edmentum as we can, which is the platform of live education when possible. If that does not suit the student's need, we do retain the Apex version for them as well. So I gave you a little data on the next slide of how nationwide more than 5 million students are currently served by this platform for virtual education. 400,000 educators use it. 6,200 public school districts use the platform we've adopted. This is national. It has been very well received, and we are excited. I saw emails today about the more meetings and trainings and check-ins and so on. And so I just wanted to keep this in front of you, what the process is. You'll get asked. Our target audience will be going out to some of our online education students that are currently living in Huntington County. Maybe that didn't choose Huntington because we didn't have a true virtual platform in the past. They'll be receiving a marketing informational guide that Mr. Butler and some of our administrative team have put together. I'll be sending that to you as well shortly. It's just been finalized literally at the end of last week. And the process will be, if a student wanted full-time virtual education, is they will and their parents will meet with our principal at the building level, which is middle school and high school. Once the principal has approved that this is a platform that this student would be successful in, they will then be referred to the guidance counselor and our director of virtual education, and they will set up a meeting just like any other student with here's what it is, here's how you do it, and here's your counselor as you need, and here's the director with a name and face, so when you have any questions, they'll reach out. So just wanted to have informational item, take any questions you might have, but we're very, very excited about this platform for our kids in Huntington that choose that route. I will reiterate, we believe the best game in town in the area, in the region, is our in-person education by our teachers. We are big believers of that. But I also want a quality, high-quality education process for those who choose online education that we put our name behind, and I believe we have one.
Thank you, Mr. Burnberry. Any questions for Mr. Burnberry referenced Edmentum? I'd just like to say I appreciate your efforts with this. I know
you.
that there are families and students that need that alternative. And this is, I've done a little background on this too, and this is much more rigorous
Yes.
than what was previous offered. So
Yes, thank you.
thank you for your effort there.
Appreciate it, Mr. Allen.
Anything else, guys, gals? Alrighty, we'll move on to E2, 2025 Head Start MOU between Brightpoint and HCCS. Mr. Trout.
Yes, I am, Board, this evening recommending your approval of this agreement between us and Brightpoint Head Start. The agreement is in your board packet. And just to make you aware that Head Start, if you go down to number 3, the program is actually housed at Faith Community Church. They're at 3615 North Norwood Road. But we are responsible partners with them on that, where what this says is our responsibility is to locate and identify preschool children with disabilities through Child Find efforts, which includes a screening process, and then it's all listed there for you. So we're grateful for Head Start. We're grateful for our partnership with them in this process. And so I'm just recommending your approval for this agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. Anyone like to make a motion reference this item?
Motion to approve the 25-26 Head Start MOU between Brightpoint and HCCS as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Melcher. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Any questions or comments prior to voting? Hearing none, let's vote on the motion. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to E3, 2025-26 IDOE Corporation Amendments.
Yes, we have 2 here for your approval this evening. We are required by law to notify the state of these changes, and so it also takes your board approval. We are recommending that we close school number 3078, which is the Huntington Schools preschool. So what we did was group those all together in a school. And so we're asking you to approve the closure of that, which is not even physically a building. It's just, that's how we coded it to the state for our reporting. And I'm very excited to say to you, too, amend grade level configurations for Andrews, Flint Springs, Lincoln, Roanoke, and Salmone for schools K-5 to pre-K-5. We now have pre-Ks in all those buildings. Mr. Peters and I and Mrs. Lahr are feverishly working with Mrs. Royce to try to figure out a way to get preschool also started in the location at Horace Mann, but that's going to take some more work on our part, but I'm recommending your approval of those 2 amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. I'll entertain a motion reference this item.
Motion to approve the 25-26 Indiana Department of Education Corporation amendments as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Melcher. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Heim. Any questions or comments before we vote? Hearing none, let's vote on the motion. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to E4, Google Meet for Synchronous Learning, 2025-26 school year. Mr. McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. So you will see in your board information, we used to use WebEx as our provider for synchronous learning for those days when we were canceled and students were interacting with teachers at home receiving the lessons. That contract has expired, and that contract used to run us about $79,000. And we have an alternative program through Google Meets, which is a part of our Google Suite that we already pay for some other products that we use that we will be switching to for synchronous learning days. The professional development coordinators at both the elementary and the secondary level are providing training to building level administrators so that they can get that information out to staff should we happen to have a synchronous learning day early in the school year. So that is a significant savings to the district and a platform that integrates well with Canvas, which we use at the high school, and other platforms that we use in the other buildings as well to deliver that information and instruction.
Do you anticipate parent struggles with new technology? I know that you're addressing that with the teachers and the groups, but I can see, some tired looks from people possibly.
Sure. Having used this program in a previous district, I don't believe that to be the case. When you put it in a situation like Canvas, you create a link. When you set up the Google Meet, and it's a simple click on and make sure that the mic and camera and those kind of things are on. But other than that, there's not a whole lot to it.
Thank you, Mr. McClellan. I was being devil's advocate. It's very simple to use. I think it's definitely not more difficult. So any other questions or comments for Mr. McLaughlin? Thank you. Moving on to F1 through 12, the consent agenda. Mr. Trout.
Yes, I'll draw your attention, first of all, to a myriad of opportunities there. The personnel report, if you look at that, you'll notice several names and several different positions. So just FYI for that. Also, we have also listed a myriad of ECA renewals for you there, too, in your board packet for this evening. Mr. Peters, would you want to talk to number 7 there for us this evening?
Yes, this is an MOU that we have with Junior Achievement of Northern Indiana. We have a great partnership with them. It's a great program, and this will allow us to bring junior achievement to all levels throughout our district, and so we're asking for your approval for that.
And then I'm going to draw your attention to, we had great success last year with the adjunct teachers. This is another memorandum of understanding in year 2 for that. We're excited to have those staff members back with us, along with number 9, the mentors for each one of these teachers. We have found this to be an incredibly beneficial program for not only the adults, but more so for the children. So we're excited about that. And then, as always, we are grateful for our community and their donations they continue to provide for us. And Mr. Peters, would you want to talk just about the Kinder Camp employment recommendation?
Yes, we had a teacher. You voted at the June 23rd board meeting for our roster of Kinder Camp teachers. We did have a teacher that did resign, and so we have replaced that teacher with Jordan Bitzer, and she is a teacher at Andrews, and she'll be moving into the kindergarten position this year. So we're asking for to approve her recommendation as a Kinder Camp teacher.
So, board, for your approval, I'm recommending consent agenda items F1 through 12.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. I'll entertain a motion reference to consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mrs. Heim. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. McClellan. Any questions or comments prior to voting for the consent? Hearing none, let's vote on the agenda. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to item G, Finance, item G1, AIC TRECS Clearinghouse Letter of Agreement. Mr. McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Allen. So this letter that you have in your board packet would give us permission to have TRECS send letters when there is a match with someone that owes the school district money, that when they have a match that payment is going to come, they would send that letter from TRECS on our behalf, that there was a match and that those funds would be coming back to the district. So it only happens once they have a match. It doesn't happen for anyone that we report to TRECS. It's just when there's a match, and that's a $3 fee for that, and this letter would approve us partnering with them to send that letter on our behalf.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. I'll entertain a motion reference this item.
Motion to approve the AIC TRECS Letter of Agreement, registration, participation as presented.
Well done. Thank you, Mr. Melcher. Anyone give me a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Questions or comments prior to voting? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion. Motion passes 7-0. Moving on to items of discussion by board members. H1 is school board meeting calendar 2026.
Yes, board, for consideration in your board packet is a recommendation for a 12-month calendar. Yes, we're talking about 2026 for school board meetings and work sessions. We have listed those dates there. These are corresponding dates. We're also doing a little guesstimation of when the ISBA conference is going to be, and we think that we've got that taken care of there with that. And then,
somebody had a question about the fair, 4-H fair. Is that going to be that July 20th, or is that going to be, because this year would be?
good question. I just,
The 13th instead?
well, that's why we're doing the first reading.
Good call.
Okay, there you go.
That's what I thought.
If you could communicate that, is the dates out next year? I haven't seen
don't think
them.
so, Carrie.
I looked on the website and I haven't.
They haven't
I
announced
couldn't
anything.
find anything.
Okay, well, I tell you what, after we got time between when the fair's done and the next board meeting, we'll kind of
Get to the
investigate
bottom of
that.
it.
But yes, that's why there's a first reading, Mr. Allen.
Yeah,
So,
and I knew that.
the second part and the most significant change that we're recommending is start times at 6. And then when necessary, if necessary, we would hold our executive sessions afterwards. And so that's what we wanted to put out in front of you. We will investigate 4-H fair. Anything else?
I'll check on ISBA. I emailed someone, but they were off, and I never followed
Right.
back up. I'll check on that.
We're just looking at corresponding dates. We're assuming it's that Monday and Tuesday, and we'd be back in time for a board meeting that night. So we're kind of looking at that too, Ryan, so.
I know it was early this year. It's not the normal time, so usually it's the week after, so we'll see. But I'll find out.
It's just when the convention center is available.
Yeah,
Too, so.
Right.
But anyway, if you see a conflict or something else that's a concern, we have kind of thrown around that 6 o'clock time frame for a variety of reasons. But we'll bring this back to you at the next meeting for your approval, and we'll investigate a couple of those dates. Any comments, questions, concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Trout. Moving on, H2, items of discussion by board members. Anybody have something for the chair?
I think at the last meeting I had mentioned that I was going down to the ISBA, IAPSS, IASBO financial seminar down in Indianapolis. It was interesting. Representative Thompson was there talking about Senate Bill 1, and something I just never heard talk about it is his ultimate plan for schools and county taxes property taxes as a whole is to ultimately get tax rate to be below $3 for a county. And then the conversation is what percentage of that is going to be kind of reserved for schools. That is a different conversation that I've never heard when it came to Senate Bill 1. He said stuff will need to be fixed with Senate Bill 1, but that was attempt 1, and they have time to adjust some stuff. And then take that, I know I had shared with the board the presentation the city had and stuff like that. Ultimately, it's going to come back to what kind of funds we have available to continue to have Terry do the work that he's been doing, because the property taxes fund debt service and maintaining our buildings. So if we're upside down on that, that's going to be the issue. So Senate Bill 1 definitely is going to give John Trout and the business staff some fun.
Yeah, well, in preparation for that, just so you know, Baker Tilly will be at the August the 11th school board meeting to address these very issues, specifically to us as a school district. I am currently working on budget prep for 2026 for budget adoption with all of you coming up. And so the second part of that equation, Ryan, is what's the availability for us to do these necessary improvements into the future. And so kind of the combination of Senate Bill 1, bonds, leases coming off, just kind of all wrapped into one here. But we'll be having that conversation in earnest on August the 11th.
The plan that we had a couple years ago where we were going to have little geo bonds to kind of
Yes.
keep that is kind of now been thrown out the door.
Right.
Because of those changes. So I think we have time still to figure out something, but
But that's why I'm
Tyler.
having Tyler from Baker Tilly come in and start throwing out some options to you. Because shortly thereafter, we have some possibilities for 26. And we want to make sure we have our ducks in a row before the end of this calendar year to do whatever we need to do. And what you say, Terry, Pat, and I, and Tyler are having a meeting coming up to discuss what the availability of those are. Plus, then we're going to be giving you a smorgasbord of ideas, and then working with all of you to work through those of how we would match these needs with those funds for 26. And to do that, I mean, we've done some incredible work, without raising the tax rate within that, and we will still want to be fiscally responsible in it, but we still have work to do moving forward too. So those are all good points.
Anybody else have anything else they'd like to share? Moving on, H3, HCCS Reminders, Mr. Trout.
Hey, don't forget, we're going to be at the 4-H fair, we being the district, for its registration assistance. So we have a booth that's being manned by several different people. So we're looking forward to that opportunity there. Kinder Camp, yes, Kinder Camp starts next week. You'll see the dates there. Registration and device handouts is going to be on July 24th from 1 to 7 and July 25th, 8 to 1. Elementary schools will be open for pre-K through 5 registration. Riverview will be open for 6-12 registration and handout this year as we navigate through some construction-related issues this year. And here we go, open houses, August the 4th, from 5 to 7 is middle schools, and August the 5th is 5 to 7 for elementary and high schools. So first day of school is just around the corner, which will be on August the 6th. There's no delay start that day for that Wednesday. And then this is the last school board meeting we're having at Crestview. Just a big time thank you to Mrs. Yager and her staff for welcoming us here. This has been a great place for us to meet. I am so grateful. We'd be also remiss if we didn't mention Mr. Diamond, who has worked with this also. So this has turned out to work out very, very well in the process. So, yes. And, And our friends there with technology, if you see Pam, be
Sorry.
nice. Yes, they're there. They try to stay behind the scenes, but you've already seen that Nathan's fantastic too. And so we're grateful for the two of you and what you have done within that too. But Mr. Butler will be broadcasting these in various different social media outlets to get this out. Schools will be also notifying their public along the way too. So I just want to put those dates out to you.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. I think those are all good reminders. It's coming up really fast. My goodness, time is going quickly. Summer's disappearing. Any questions or comments, references, reminders? I'll move on to I, closing items. I1, will anybody make a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. And second? Thank you, Mrs. Heim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're going to